All right, welcome to the Easy Peasy Mealtime Show, where parents and professionals come together to talk about feeding therapy and picky eating and ways to help kids who struggle to eat. Today, I am so honored to have my hero, Marsha Dunn Klein. Marsha Dunn Klein is an occupational therapist, and she is a co-author to Pre-Feeding Skills. You can see how tattered this book is. It's basically my feeding Bible and how I learned how to be a feeding therapist. So for those of you who are OTs and LPs who are watching, you need to pick up that book. It's 800 pages, but it's everything you need to know to be a feeding therapist. So Marsha, welcome to the show. Thank you so much
Thanks
for coming.
Thanks for having me. Am I starting?
So this is exciting because yes, you're starting. This is exciting because when we were at the AOTA convention, we were telling everyone that you were going to be here and that we were celebrating, occupational therapy month and having you here and kind of highlighting what OTs do with feeding. And so today we're doing our blab tonight. Thank you guys for the love on bites and crumbs and tastes and textures. And Marsha, you can just have at it and start.
Well, I have to say, first off, that I've become a serious fan of the Easy Peasy Mats. And people who know me know that when I get excited about something, my enthusiasm really shows. So I'll give you the commercial part first, which is nobody's paying me to do this. I just love the Easy Peasy Mats. I love them because they're colorful. I love them because they're novel. I love them because they establish a space for children to play with food and have great experiences. I love that they're washable. I love that they are in different shapes. And I'm going to share some ideas with you over the next hour or so of some fun ways that I like to use the Easy Peasy Mats.
Oh, what a great intro. And Lindsay, the founder of Easy Peasy, is writing, "Oh my God, I love you, and you're going to make me cry." So she loves hearing this from therapists, especially someone of your stature. So thank you, Marsha.
I'm pretty short, actually. So, so I am a pediatric occupational therapist. I work out of Tucson in a clinic with some amazing people. It's Mealtime Connections. It's OTs, PTs, speech, and dietitian folk. And we have Easy Peasy Mats all over the place, covered in every kitchen, and we like them a lot. Those people who know me know that I like to talk about feeding, I like to feed kids, and I talk about the get permission approach. And what I mean by the get permission approach is that we offer children food, and with their permission, we put it in their mouth. We believe very strongly that feeding is a relationship between parents and children, and when parents offer and all goes well, parents and children come together. It's a positive tilt. Parents offer, children say yes, children eat, and they but unfortunately, many of you out there have children or know children where eating hasn't come easily. They are not eating for all kinds of reasons that they personally experience. And so when a child feels well, they want to eat, and when they're not feeling well, they don't want to eat. And in my philosophy and my comfort level of working with children is to not force them to eat, but to try to entice them, to try to bring them in, to try to help them find trust and comfort with food.
Yes.
In the get permission approach, the adults offer, and the child gives permission by saying, I want it, by reaching for the food, by somehow coming towards the food. And then adults make offers of food and food changes in different tiny little steps, always so that the child can be successful. And one of the things that's very, very important to me as a therapist is that both parents and children are successful. So when I'm using Easy Peasy Mats, it's usually in a dyad or triad with parents and child and therapist, so that it's a little entertainment center and a place where we do food play together. Our goals are that children enjoy the food, and what I mean by that is that they enjoy the texture and the flavor. We want children to be confident in their skills. We want them to have good skills for chewing, good skills for swallowing, good skills for getting food to their mouth. So enjoyment, confidence, and then the third really important one is we want them to be internally motivated to eat. That is, we want them to want to participate in this meal. So if you think about those three tenets, enjoyment, confidence, and internal motivation, we can create all of those principles through activities. And the easy peasy mats happen to be a nice way to do that. So what I'd like to do is tell you one more main principle for Get Permission, and that is we talk about stretching from a familiar place. So we're trying to help children find a place of trust. We're trying to find out, what do you love? What do you love? And then how can we build on that? And so there are lots of ways we can do that, and I will show you some of those ways through the easy peasy mats. So one technique we talk about is called the around the bowl technique. I don't know if you can see this.
Yep, we can see it great.
Okay, in an around the bowl technique, so I'm going to just show you my bowl down here.
Perfect.
This would be a happy bowl. Now, in a happy bowl, in a around the bowl technique, we would just figure out what kind of food the child loves. So maybe it's vanilla yogurt.
Okay.
That's what they love. That's what we're pretending at the moment. And so we're going to start the meal with that food because it's a food the child knows.
Okay.
We're starting with safe and we're starting with familiar. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take, we could put on this side of the bowl, we could put another flavor of yogurt, or we could put some crumbs in it, or we can put some mashed banana in it, but we can put another kind of either texture or flavor on the other side of the bowl. And what I'm going to do for your viewing enjoyment is I'm going to put some red Fruit Loops that I'm going to crush.
Love it.
So you can see how we would do it. So we would start with the child with the vanilla yogurt. Do you like it? Do you want it? We're watching their cues. We're watching the parents' cues. Maybe the parents doing the spoon themselves. And then if they like that one, great. They're in a good mood. They're ready to eat. I'm going to give them a little bit of the new part with a lot of the familiar part. And so we're going to tiptoe around the bowl till we can get to the point where the child is comfortable on the new color, new flavor, new texture. But if they let us know we're going a little too fast, we can go back to familiar. If they're doing great, we can keep going around the bowl until we're offering the new flavor. So we call that the around the bowl technique. And I really like these happy bowls for that reason. It's got space around it. It's got a nice visual to attract attention. And when we make spills over the side, which is what I'm very apt to do, it's going to collect spills. So one little aside with around the bowl is that I believe pretty strongly that children also, remember, they have to enjoy, but they also have to gain confidence.
Yes.
So if we find food during the around the bowl technique that they loved, then we might say to them, hey, would you like some off of a spatula? Would you like some off of a spoon? Would you like some off of a straw? Might you like it off of one of these funny little things? Would you like it off of the wrong end of a fork? So what we do is we offer the child that food they're liking from some different shape, because then the child has to adapt and change their mouth shape to each different taste that's coming in, and they're getting confidence in their skills practicing with the food they like.
Perfect.
So I really like around the bowl.
So Marsha, we have a couple of questions.
Already?
Yes. First is that they didn't understand the leaning forward and the tilt. And so could you explain that, and or maybe go sideways to maybe kind of, I'm not sure if that might help.
Okay. Well, we're looking for a positive tilt when we're feeding children. So if I'm feeding the baby, okay, I'm going to do it this way. So if I'm feeding the child, I'm going to offer, here's my spoon, okay? I'm going to offer, and what I'm looking for is the child to come towards that spoon by opening their mouth, by reaching for the spoon. So what we're looking for is that the adult and the child are coming together, either physically by leaning, by reaching for the food, or Emotionally, they're coming together. The child is saying in whatever way they can, Mom, Dad, I want that food. So that's a coming together. That's what I'd call a positive tilt.
Perfect.
However, when I'm offering and the child is uncomfortable, the child is nauseous, the child may throw up, the child is worried about food, the child is gagging, the child has had multiple negative experiences with food, that child may end up pulling away from the feeder. So here's the feeder, and here's pulling away, or maybe trying to get out of the high chair. That tilt in the mealtime is no longer positive. That mealtime now, instead of bringing parents and children together, is bringing parents and children apart.
Yes.
So we are always searching for what is it we need to do to help make this successful for parents and children.
Perfect. And the last question to that one was, can you do this with a nonverbal child? And yes, you can, right? Because nonverbally, they're moving forward, that it's okay if the child is either an infant or in this particular person's case, they have their child has autism and they're nonverbal. So being able to lean forward for that positive tilt, even if it's a nonverbal, yes, Mom, I want more.
Right. The child doesn't have to talk at all. The child can just feel body language. But we know when babies are saying no.
Yes.
Yes. You know, they don't say no without any words, but it's clear. And we know also tube-fed children can say no by pulling up their legs and arching and trying to pull away. So it's our reading the child's cues that we're talking.
And then another question here is from Lindsay, and she's just made a comment. There needs to be more messaging about positioning. All the high chairs besides the trip trap chair are always in the wrong position. And that's really important when we're talking about these tests from your approach, right? Is that the positioning of the child has to be imperative.
It is important that we every child to give them the maximum stability and support. However, when I'm talking about offering a child food, it could be in a high chair with nice support. It could be in the parent's arms. It could be on parents' laps. It could be on a floor on a picnic sheet when we're having a party together, that the offer is there. So the concept is in whatever position, whatever environment that child is comfortable, we're making the offer, and they're saying yes in the way they can. And if they say no, we are going to adapt it and change it such that they can tell us yes. So we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Well, for example, if the child back here with our yogurt, if the child was saying yes with the yogurt by opening their mouth and wanting it, terrific. If we gave them some of the crumbs and they thought that was okay, and they opened for the next bite, that was permission. But if they got gaggy and worried about it, we're tiptoeing backwards. We're going to go back to what they knew and then inch forward in tinier steps, because we want to go forward with their comfort, with their trust, with their permission, and with parent success.
And a comment to your around the bowl technique I'm getting via text is that approach is to show kids what the food is and not to hide it, not to sneak in the foods, right? Your around the bowl technique for them to see that. Okay. I just wanted confirmation on that. Great.
But some children also, for example, a child with vision challenges that couldn't see the changes in the bowl, we're going to offer, we still may offer around the bowl. What I'm saying is we're tiptoeing to the next texture, but we're going to offer it at the child's lips and let them play with it, or offer it on the child's fingers so they can try it themselves first so they know the texture change is coming. It's a little harder when children can't see it. But the idea is not to surprise them, but to tiptoe towards change.
Yes, love it. And thank you, Lindsay and Stacy, for all your love and support. I'm enjoying this too. It's so great. Okay, give me some love. So,
go ahead.
So with your around the bowl technique, do you find that you can use that with other easy peasy products? A little plug there. with around the happy mat and around the snack mat.
Absolutely. We can use it with any of them. I'll show you some other ideas that I like with the other ones, just so we can get a variety of activities. But of course, every one of your mats can be done in all kinds of creative ways.
Perfect.
So another topic I'd like to just mention is You can see this, I think.
Yes.
This is the idea about bite-sized discretion. And if you can see, we have a picture of a mouse here. And so we talk about little mouse bites and then little bird bites and kitty bites and puppy bites and horse bites and elephant bites, and they get bigger as we go up the chart. We know some children that stuff their mouths too much, and we're trying to help them take smaller bites. But many of the children we know are worried about the food we're giving them. And for some reason, we've ended up thinking it's okay to just plop a mouthful of food on a child's mouth. And in my heart, that's not the way I want to feed children. I would like to feed children by offering them that next flavor, that next texture in tiny increments. If I'm going to give a child a new flavor of yogurt, it might be a tiny bit to start with, kind of on their lips to see, do you like it? Do you like this enough that we can continue? Have you seen babies trying baby food, peas, for example? So I don't know why we think we can give them pears, and then here's a whole mouthful on your tongue of baby food peas.
Yes.
Many times you get a negative reaction because it's a sensory surprise, but also it's a little bit of an insult to have this whole glob of something you didn't know was coming, and it's a change of flavor, and it might be one that takes a little time to get used to. So we think it's pretty important to start with tiny mouse bites. So for a while, I used to take a toothpick and put a tiny, tiny taste on it for a little bit of like a toddler or older child, 3 or 4 year old. And we make a big deal, a tiny, tiny, tiny mouse bite. And somehow that's not so scary. It's not big. It's not worrisome. So I've had so many children be willing to take that little mouse bite. And then if they like it, you go, do you want a bird bite? And, we just keep making them bigger. And I did that with toothpicks until one day, I'm just going to say, I had a child that just put the whole toothpick in their mouth and swallowed it. So, but I use coffee stirrers from straws. Anytime we're making a big deal about a little bite. But I have to tell you, my favorite new invention in the universe would be this. So, called a micro mat. I love it. So you imagine if you're used to having therapy with a big happy mat and we're playing games with that. And then we talk about having a little tiny mouse bite. This is, again, visibly tiny, smaller, less scary, less worrisome. So we can put a dab of a new pure taste or a crumb of something in there, or a dab of Nutella or peanut butter or some cream cheese. So I love these as a way to accentuate how tiny this little bite is that we're offering.
Absolutely. And they can actually finish a plate, just a little tiny little plate. If you finish your plate, you finish your plate. A lot of our kids can't finish their plates. So it's such a perfect little plate to finish.
It is. I was with a little girl this week, and she said, I'm a finishing girl. Aww. And she have one thing in each compartment, and I'm a finishing girl. So that's a kind of an exciting thing. And you can just stick them in your purse, and they're pretty handy.
Yes. We have a lot of comments on here that is just saying, basically, that they're just loving the information. And Gina, thank you so much, Gina, for joining that. The micromats are awesome. They're loving your info. Stacy saying that she's really enjoying all this and that the mouse bites aren't scary when you're presenting on the micromat. And Lindsay, the founder of ezpz, says she's crying. So because it's just, it's so great because a lot of these followers come and watch the blabs and they kind of hear me talk about the products and talk about things. And then, you're just bringing this amazing approach that you've made and to teach not only professionals, but for parents as well. And just kind of incorporating that with the products. And I just think people are just kind of blowing their minds, feeling like, there's approach out there that can actually help their kids, whether they're tube fed or, just trying new bites or essentially is not eating very much, and to use these techniques and because they have the products. So exciting.
Well, and I do have to say there are lots of techniques out there that work. This is just the group of ideas that I really am comfortable with on a regular basis.
Yes.
So, can I share another idea?
Yes, please.
So this one, I'm gonna bring this down right here. Okay, so I have the happy mat, and I put this together because I really like the concept of dips and dippers. So the idea is we want to start with familiar and help the child stretch from there. So what does the child love? That's our starting point. So if the child loves, if a child loves a strawberry, for example, maybe they could dip that in applesauce. And so the strawberry is the familiar part, and the applesauce becomes a new flavor. Or maybe the child likes the crunchiness of these Mum crackers, and they're comfortable with that. But maybe they could dip it on an orange piece to get some orange flavor on it. Or with the idea of dips and dippers, we can change up the utensil that you're dipping into the wet stuff, or you can change up the wet stuff by giving different dippers. So for example, if I liked the applesauce, that would be my dip, but my dipper could be a lot of different things. It could be a spatula. It could be I don't know what this is even, a little paintbrush, food paintbrush. It could be a special kind of a spoon. It could be the end of the spoon. Remember I said before, I like that children are practicing adapting their mouths to different shapes.
Yes.
So remember, sauce is the dip, and then the dippers can be all different shapes. However, we could also be changing, once we find a dipper we like, we can dip into different sauces. So if we liked, we call these little apple French fries, little skinny pieces of apple. And so if you like the apple French fry, you could dip it in, there you go, down here. So you could dip it in applesauce, or you could dip it in mashed strawberries, or you could dip it in crumbs of a cookie that you liked. Oh, now I have sticky fingers. You can dip it into, here we go. You can dip it into sprinkles. You can dip it into lots of different things. So you can change the dippers and you can change the dips, but you find the one the child likes, the dip, and change the dippers. You find the one dipper they like and change the dip. So you can change it back and forth, but again, you have some part of the activity is familiar for the child, and it's an activity the child trusts.
And Marsha, will you explain that this is something that a child that's feeding themselves can do, as well as a parent who's feeding them? Can you kind of explain the different techniques for that, or if they work, if all these techniques work for that as well?
So if the child's doing it themselves, I love dips and dippers as a way for a child to practice utensil skills. So if you were dipping your apple French fry into something, can you see how this is actually a sort of spoon or fork activity?
Yes.
And if you're dipping your Mum cracker into something, you have to hold your hand a little differently. So you're adjusting your hands to the shape of the dipper. You're adjusting your mouth to the shape of what's coming in. And remember, we're looking for enjoyment. So we're looking for some part of this that the child knows and enjoys. We're looking for confidence that they can adapt to these activities. And the internal motivation to feed themselves is a really important part of this whole activity. So when they're doing it themselves, that's terrific. However, if the child didn't have the motor skills to do it themselves, we can still offer the dip they liked. Maybe it's yogurt off of the different dippers. And in that case, maybe it's different shaped utensils, or maybe it's a carrot, or maybe it's off of a cucumber, depending on the child's skills and safety level, of course.
Yes, absolutely. So, hey, SLPs out there, isn't this exciting? How, from an OT's perspective, we're seeing feeding in a whole different light. For the OTs who are watching, this is right up in your alley, I know. But for us SLPs, when I first took Marsha's class, which is kind of funny, I've been taking her classes for 20 years. When I first took her class, it blew my mind because I never thought about how a child brought the food to the mouth. I always thought, oh, that's OT, that's not me. But yeah, in the session, I'm I'm there. So that just blew my mind when I first took her course and really understood how that really changes. And if you guys haven't taken Marsha's course, she's I'm going to give that plug. And I'll put the website at the end of this, as well as put Marsha's website and her conference that she's hosting next month in May in Tucson, Arizona, which I will be there. So, and I'll put that in the blog that I'll be writing about this blab that we're doing, and I'll put all that information in there. But when I first took the course, we had to feed each other in the class, and Marsha is telling us to kind of feed our neighbor here. And so we're feeding each other, and it was really a great sensory awareness for me as a therapist, seeing how I'm being fed and how being fed the wrong way, being fed the right way, using all these techniques and having them being done to you, it really does change your aspects of how you think about feeding children. And that's one of the amazing things that I love about your approach, Marsha, is just it really puts into perspective, you as the feeder and the child as an eater, and kind of being able to role play is so exciting. And we have some comments here that says, "This is so simple, dips and dippers. Who doesn't love what kind of dip? Some kind of dip." Yeah, and it is. I mean, that's another thing that I love about Marsha. She's a great teacher, and she really brings things back to a developmental perspective, as well as just making it easy enough for a parent can grasp that information, go home and work on it with their kids and be really successful. And then another comment is saying that they're having networking issues. She's trying to do on her computer, but she's watching on the phone. And I have some other people who are watching on the phones too and texting me. So it's okay. Keep trying. Okay, Marsha, so sorry. I wanted to be able to make those comments there. But please continue.
You're my manager. That was very sweet. So as we're thinking about the whole concept of offering food to children in a way they can trust it, and mouse bites and tiny, successful little portions, we talk about crumbs a lot. So in this handout, we're looking at crumbs, and I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on with that. But we can use crumbs to help children stretch from familiar. So we can use crumbs to mix in with the applesauce to make it a thicker texture. Mix in with the vegetable soup with instant potatoes to make it instant potato crumbs to make it thicker. We could use crumbs to, my spoon. So we can put crumbs on top of the familiar food and offer them. We can offer a lot of crumbs or just a crumblet, just the tiniest little pinch of crumbs. We talk about crumb snow, dropping crumb snow. So you can picture, you could put a lot of crumbs if a child is comfortable with that, or just a tiny amount, because again, we want to start with where successful is and then tiptoe. Got it. You can put a little pile of crumbs on your easy peasy mat. So let's go right here for a second. So you can put crumbs of all different kinds. I'll show you these in a second, but you could have crumbs on your mat, and you could, or let's try it this way. You could have crumbs on your bowl, crumbs in a pile here, and crumbs right here. Oh, yellow, let's have red. Oh,
that looks good. We can see it.
See them?
Yep.
Okay, so you can offer the yogurt, and then you could put crumbs on the bottom of the spoon. So now they're coming in on the child's tongue. So that's a different way to experience crumbs. Or you could offer the crumbs on the side. So it's on one side or the other. The reason that we like to offer it on the bottom or the side is because, all right, the child's getting used to crumbs, but remember, we want them to be confident. I can handle it when it's over here and over here. I can handle it when it comes in on my tongue. We're giving them confidence that when food comes in my mouth in a little bit of a different way, I can manage that. So crumbs are people who know me. Actually, one of the gals in the office gave me a spoon recently that she had engraved Crumb Queen. So crumbs, but I really do like crumbs as a way to help kids start with a tiny taste. So here you go. So here are some things that could be crumbable. So we've got Rice Krispies. Rice Krispies can be made small, but if you work with Rice Krispies for a little while, next thing you know, you could help a child handle the bigger Rice Krispie. So, and that's sort of a big crumb. We have goldfish can you picture goldfish aren't going to be quite as melty as a Ritz Cracker. A Ritz Cracker is going to be really, really more buttery. Can you picture the butteriness of this crumb versus the goldfish is going to be a little more pointy?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
There are some families that say to us, yeah, fine, snacks are fine, but what about really healthy food? Good idea. So these are freeze-dried bananas, and so you can rub them together and make a very, 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 very powdery crumb that is not sharp, that's not going to be so scary. So freeze-dried fruits, we have some freeze-dried strawberry here. I think it's a little soggy, so it's not going to crumb very well. But you can get the idea of a freeze-dried strawberry.
Yes.
Sprinkles. Sprinkles can be a crumb. Now, that's not very meltable. And you can picture between the Rice Krispie, between the Ritz Cracker and the sprinkles, the sprinkle's going to be a very different experience. So you're probably not going to start with sprinkles with a child that's really gagging and worried about texture change. You're probably going to start with something like these freeze-dried banana crumbs that are powdery, or a Ritz Cracker crumb that can be sort of buttery. So you can, with some creativity, you can change up the crumbs in a lot of different ways to, again, help find enjoyment and find confidence. And we want children to want to come back for more. So that's the internal motivation piece. So for example, crumbs can be really powdery, or they can be really textured.
Yes.
You could be very fine meltable, like those meringue cookies that you could.
Yes.
Meringue ones, you can grate them. Those are puffy, and you just blow them like snow. Whereas they could be not meltable, and so a not meltable one could be, for example, coconut that you put in a food processor, or for some kids, we're really trying to help them add calories in their life, but not big amounts of bites of things. We've used coffee bean grinders to grind up nuts and made crumbs of nuts. And so for those kids, we might give them apples as their dipper, to dip in yogurt as a calorie, to dip in the crumbs as an activity to make it fun. And we can put all of these piles on our little happy mats, or our, don't tell me the name of it, the play mat. Play mat, there you go.
Yes.
So you can have different things that they could dip. You could have the yogurt in the center, and then you could have the different kinds of crummy things around the edges to dip into as the child's feeling comfortable. So you can have snacky crackers, crumbs. We all know those. Every therapy office has Cheetos and vanilla wafers and Ritz Crackers and snacky things. But we could also go to the really healthy side of things. So freeze-dried fruits, freeze-dried vegetables can do that. We can have brown crumbs. When we think of crumbs, they're usually brown. But we could also think colors. We can think Fruit Loops. Or the vegetables can be colors. We can have kids that separate these by color and then help put them in a Ziploc baggie. I'm going to just see if I can clear up my mess here. And you're going to see what I'm going to do. So with kids, we'll either have them take a spoon and we smash them and they smash them, and we smash them and they smash them. Or we can take a rolling pin and we can make crumbs.
Yes.
We can have the child stomp on them on the ground. So what we're doing is we're having a little proprioceptive activity. We're also getting them used to the idea of crumbs before we're going to eat them. So we're not just putting crumbs in their mouth, but we are incorporating them in the participation of it. So I'm going to show you one more example. And this is an activity I do very, very often, and I really love it. So here you go. You're going to have to listen while I show you. Okay. So do we all know children that really love one kind of meltable thing?
Yes.
I'm going to pretend it's Ritz Crackers for this moment.
Okay.
But okay. So they like Ritz Crackers. So I might say to them, here are your Ritz Crackers, and here are mine. Now on mine, I'm going to start making crumbs out of mine. I'm going to push them, and again, I might put them in a Ziploc bag or use the spoon or the rolling pin, but I'm going to make crumbs out of mine. The idea is I'm not messing with yours, because you're worried about it when I mess with yours. I'm messing with mine. So we're going to mess with mine and then see if we can start playing with these in such a way as to do things like, can you pat, 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 and can you bring it to your lips? Let's see if I can do this here. So pat, pat, and bring it to your lips. Mm-hmm. Can you pat, pat, and kiss it? Can you put it on your tongue? Hey, which finger are you going to put it on? This one or this one? And so kids are beginning to make choices about which finger, or do you want a big amount, or do you want a little amount, or you want to put it on this side of your face or on this side of your face. So we're going to, so we're going to
go therapy looks like.
So can you picture if you've helped a child eat the food they like?
Yes.
In a crumb version, they now, and once they understand crumbing, they now understand that food can be in little, tiny, tiny, tiny kind of amounts. Mm-hmm. So then, often, we'll take something like a Rice Krispie. And now that they know how to roll it and smash it, and it's so much fun, we might do that with Rice Krispies. And we might put some Rice Krispies right next to the Ritz Cracker crumbs, or we might put some Rice Krispies on one of the corners. Or since we include parents in all of our activities, we might say, here's Mommy's crumbs to put in her mouth, here's Marsha's crumbs to put in her mouth, here's Brother's, and here's Therapy King. So we can each have a corner, and I love that about the Happy Mats because there's a space for us all to, and for me, it helps me identify which corner is the one I'm putting my spit in, right?
Great.
So then, once kids like the Ritz Cracker crumbs, then we might try to put some Rice Krispies and then start having a Rice Krispie taste, a Rice Krispie and, a Ritz Cracker taste, and then a Ritz Cracker with a little Rice Krispie taste. And then we started thinking like we're going around the bowl, but we're going from Rice Krispies to Ritz's, from Ritz's to Rice Krispies and back until the next thing you know, you've gone around the bowl and this child is eating Rice Krispie crumbs.
Yes.
When you're eating Rice Krispie crumbs, you can, it'll take just a little while to get to Rice Krispies. And now you have a fortified cereal on your list,
right,
instead of another snack food. So that was a long, involved story, but I really, really like the Happy Mats for that kind of activity because it's a workplace and it's a station and everybody has their.
I love that, Marsha. I have to tell you, I've never done that. I've never used the Happy Mat to be able for all the parents involved to eat off of it. That's such a great idea. It's mind-blowing. Love it. And if you guys have our followers, if you guys have a question for Marsha, just go ahead and put that on the side here and just ask that. Feel free because these techniques are just so exciting and involved, and I want you to make sure that you get your questions answered if you have any. We have some comments saying that, they love the language of tiny crumbs and being able to, talk about food without it being scary, saying all these words that you're using because you're such a natural at it, talking with kids, but that, us as observers right now, we're hearing your language and hearing these fun, tiny, bites, these mouse bites, all these words and these language that you're using that really makes it fun for us to watch. I mean, people are saying, who wouldn't want to eat off of a mat that smiles at you? Who wouldn't want these types of techniques to be able to be utilized? And for parents that are watching, you can see that you can just take these techniques home and be able to utilize them. And for feeding therapists and therapists alike, being able to utilize some of these too. So if you have any questions, feel free to put those on the side. If the information that you guys are watching right now and you feel like there's a client out there or another parent that could really use this information, we will be posting this broadcast tomorrow on a blog. I'll be writing about it. And also you can, hit the little bird or the Twitter on the corner there, or Facebook it, to let parents know and get this information out about, how exciting, bites and crumbs and tastes and textures can be in Marsha's approach. Please feel free to do that.
Well, and I do want to say that these are some general ideas.
Yes.
And of course, they're going to be individualized for each child. Mm-hmm. Depending on the child's dietary needs and depending on their ability to swallow and chew. And so I have to do the cover myself that says, really, we're going to individualize it, but this is a concept to think about with your.
Yes. And I love that too, Marsha, because, you go to some conferences and a therapist will go up there and say, this is the technique that's going to work for every single one of your kids. And, that cookie cutter approach, this doesn't work. And I just always love how humble you are that you're always saying, hey, this is an idea. This is one way to be able to use these skills. And I just love that about you. When you go to other conferences and it's like, this is the way, and it's not. So love that.
It's not the way is because it's not our way. It's because we are offering, but it's the child that lets us know how fast are we going to go and how are we going to adapt. The idea is we offer, and if it's the wrong offer, we need to adapt it in some way so they can be successful. It's our job to adapt and read their cues. And so because of that, there isn't a one size fits everybody. There isn't a one activity fits everybody at all.
Right.
There are concepts, and then we adapt for each child to be successful. And parents ought to be a part of every one of these activities. And the Happy Mat is plenty big enough that the parent and the child and we can each have a side and a part, because there's absolutely no reason in my heart to just bring a child in and try to therapize them without doing it in partnership with parents, because parents are feeding their children and parents need to be successful. And if a parent's not successful, we need to adapt the activity in another way for them to be successful too.
Yes, absolutely. And then let's talk about that, Marsha. I get a question asked a lot by parents. They're saying that their feeding therapist is not allowing them into the therapeutic setting to do feeding therapy. Can you comment on that? Because you're saying, this is your approach is just such a family togetherness, and having other therapists, that are not allowing a parent to come and participate with them. Can you just share a few thoughts about that? Whereas sometimes it's not appropriate, where you have anxiety when a parent is in there, or, or whether it's the kid or the child or a sibling or a parent that's actually really anxious during feeding. But in general, we want parents to be in there, right?
As a general concept, I would like to involve parents the very first second it's possible to involve them. Yes. I was just doing some work with a child this week, and the first few minutes I spent with the child by myself in this particular case, because everybody was worried about everything, and I wanted to just feel like I got to know the child a little bit. But as soon as I got what was going on, the parents were there. But that was very unusual. I would say most of the time, 99% of the time, I want to have parents there, and we're going to teach them to read cues and offer and then adapt. And they're going to see that sometimes I make an offer for a child. Here is some texture I think you'll like, and they eat it and throw it up. I mean, I went over the line. I mistakenly judged how far to go. But then you've got to backpedal and go back to find success again and find trust again, and then sort of tiptoe forward. And so it doesn't always work. And so parents need to see that it doesn't always work when you do it. But adapt and adjust. And really, I think feeding therapy is for the purpose of having parents feel successful. So in my heart, how can I get to there if I don't include the parents, if we're not doing it together?
Yes. Yes. So one question is, can you please recite the 3 things that you have to have? I got confidence, but I didn't get the other 2.
Enjoyment. So we're
enjoyment. Got it.
Enjoy the flavor and or texture. And I think that's first.
Enjoyment's first. Okay.
I think it's hard to work on the motor skills of confidence without the permission that comes from, I like it, I want it, I've given permission. So I think for me, enjoyment needs to come first. Then we can work on how they're chewing and the confidence part. These are general concepts.
Yes. I'm just trying to keep the conversation.
And the third is internal motivation. That means the child is motivated to eat enough to grow. So in an approach where I'm just feeding the child a quantity because I want them to get to this many bites or that many bites or a quantity, in my way of thinking, that's more adult driven. That's external motivation. You will eat this because I, the big giant grown-up, want you to eat this amount. And I would much rather entice the child to be taking it because they want it. So I might have set it up so they think it's their idea, but it might have still been my idea, but they think it's their idea. They're coming to this activity because they want to. So enjoyment, confidence, internal motivation.
Love it.
And I would do all of that with love.
Yes, love it. Love it. Any questions so far? I'm seeing lots of comments, and thank you so much. Any other questions? I'm getting a lot of questions via Twitter and texting. So anything else on that for you guys that are watching? So Stacy says enjoyment, confidence, internal motivation. Wrote that down to remember it. Yes, I know. I was getting the same question from another parent. That's great. Thank you, Stacy. Okay, moving on. Oh, we lost you. Oh, you're there.
I'm here. Those were the things I was going to talk about. So
fabulous.
I will say a little caveat back to the crumbs.
Yes.
Remember that you're starting with successful and tiny, but remember you can make them bigger, you can make them sharper. Some crumbs take longer to melt. Some crumbs are not meltable, like the nuts or the food processed coconut. Some crumbs, for example, a Fruit Loop can be just 4 pieces, and those are really big crumbs. Yes. Right? So once a child gets the idea of crumbs and kind of small, you can help them get to bigger and bigger crumbs. I like to use grated cheese, like the Mexican 4-blend cheese, the one that's not, I'm not sure if it's even cheese, actually, but it's not.
Yes.
But it can become a crumb. So once a child gets the idea of, I could dip a spoon, I could wet the spoon and I can dip it in crumbs. Now I've got crumbs, and I can take crumbs off of a straw, off of a spatula. And so again, I'm practicing with crumbs off of different shapes, so that I'm at the end of the day getting multiple practice tastes without somebody saying, have a taste, have a taste, have a taste, yes. Have a taste. Yes. But I'll say, which fork do you want next? Which dipper do you want next? So we've got a whole bowl of dippers, and they might pick each one, and there was 20 different dippers, and they had 20 different tastes. But I didn't say to them, you have to have 20 tastes. I just said, well, which one do you want to taste it with? So then they were internally motivated because they picked the dipper, but meanwhile they got lots of practice with crumbs.
Yes. Yes, love it. Okay, so we have a question from Stacy. So I've got students who are picky eaters, assuming some of these approaches will support expanding diets, and that's exciting. And Stacy's an OT. So yes.
Yes.
Yes, they will.
Yes. I wasn't sure what the question
was. Yes, I guess it's more of a comment. Sorry, Stacy.
Well, so expanding diets. So if you need to go to a pureed vegetable, that could be one of your dips. If you want to go to add calories, you could have nuts as your crumb. I mean, you can go in lots of different directions with the choices of foods, purees, dippers, dips, and crumbs that you use.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you think, Marsha, about taking foods and into a therapeutic setting? This is an email, and I meant to forward that to you earlier before this talk. Sorry about that. But an email was sent to me and it said, what do you think about taking food into the clinic? This was a question from a parent, versus the therapist having foods there and trying to blend the two. The parent's discomfort was she was bringing food that she wanted the child to eat from a more of a traditional, they're Hispanic origin, and she wants them to eat quesadillas and tacos and beans. And the therapist is having, them, offer different foods. What's your approach when you're dealing with parents and they want to bring in some foods, but you may think that it's maybe too challenging or maybe not the right ones? Explain to us a little bit of the balance and how that happens with you in your clinic.
Well, in our clinic, we have families bring in foods most of the time, but of course you have your backup things in the cupboards in case you need to stretch here and there. But as a general concept, I would say we want to pick foods the family loves, because we're looking for what do you love from the parent perspective and the child's perspective. Now, if the parent says, I would really like my child to eat raw broccoli, and the child isn't ready for biting and chewing raw broccoli without choking, we might say, well, go ahead and bring some broccoli. We might steam some. We might see if we can shave off some little tiny broccoli crumbs with the little broccoli leaves off the end, and we might steam it, or those could be raw. Or we could use broccoli as the dipper to eat your favorite hummus off of. So we'll try to work with the foods that the parents really would love for us to get to in those little tiny steps. And then sometimes I'll say to a parent, your child isn't quite ready for steak in a steak form, but maybe we could blend it, or maybe we could just have taste of it, or maybe we can rub a spoon on it and get the flavor and make sure that we like the flavor. Mm-hmm. So number one, I think we should respect the foods that the parents' culture or the family would like, mm-hmm. but we need to do it in a safe and trusting way for the child. And we therapists, we pick pretty boring foods for our we pick traditionally yogurt, applesauce, Ritz Crackers, goldfish, Fruit Loops and Cheerios. We pick sort of the same old stuff. And the thing is, you're never going to get to be a really good eater with just those.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get off your feeding tube with just those. Mm-hmm. So really, if your family wants to bring in Indian food, let's bring it and let's see mm-hmm. what we can do. How can we break it down into the tiniest way that child can be successful with it? And that's a gift as a therapist, to get so that you can take whatever food the family's comfortable with and find a way that there's something to do with that in an entertaining fashion with a happy mat or a happy bowl, and with your therapeutic interactions.
Absolutely. Are there any last questions? Because this was just amazing, right, you guys? Number one, this platform, this social media platform is just so engaging. And Marsha, I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for just trying something new. You trying something new. This is your cricket. And trying something new with social media and being here to be able to, to talk to 72 people right now and have your advice and your ideas just be out there and be supportive by therapists as well as parents. So you guys, this is the last time for any questions, because we'll probably be wrapping it up here in a second. So if you have any questions, feel free to type those in. It's kind of a lot to kind of be thrown at you, but it's such easy techniques to be able to just kind of implement and show. So thank you so much for the therapists that are here and for the parents that are here, and Marsha, just thank you so much. Again, I will be writing a blog tonight, and we'll have the link of this showing. And so you can send it out to your clients or send it out to a friend so that it can watch the replay of this. We'll put it up on YouTube, and we'll also put in the links to Marsha's conference that she's doing next month, which is in May in Tucson. So Marsha, again, thank you so much for coming and being so gracious to be able to share your knowledge.
Thanks. Well, you should know that I now know what a blab is. Yes. And I have a Twitter account to do this. So I'm really excelling in my technology skills this week.
So proud of you. Hands up for that.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.